Birmingham Bloomfield Republican Club Candidate Forum and Cavalcade of Stars is about to begin. My name's Dennis Marburger, and on behalf of Chris Cummins and myself and all the other members of our club, we'd like to welcome all of you for this very important event. We truly have an all-star lineup of local Republican candidates. We'd like to welcome all of you who came out tonight for this very important event. We truly have an all-star lineup of local Republican candidates. We have an all-star lineup of residents and voters and concerned Americans. Before we go any further, what we'd like to do is to invite our Bloomfield Township Supervisor, Leo Savoy, to come up and say a few words and welcome all of you to the Township and the Township Trustees Hall. Leo?
Hey, thank you everybody for coming here tonight. I think this is one of 3 events that you're going to host in Bloomfield Township. The people that have been out there to support our candidates, it's really coming from the grassroots, and it's coming from mainstream, and people are ready for that change. We all remember back in 2008, and I think Obama's campaign or mantra was for a change. Well, we have the strongest country, we have the strongest military, we have the strongest economy. Why do we want to change that? And look where it got us almost 8 years later. So I'm looking forward to it, and I know that everybody else here is committed to it as well. So with that, I'm going to leave because my 82-year-old mother came into town yesterday, and I'm taking her to dinner. But I did want to come and say thank you for coming to Bloomfield Township, and thank you for everything that you do. Have a good night.
Thank you, Leo. That was very gracious. And so here we are, and as Leo pointed out, very important issues to be discussed. It's just a few days after July 4th. And when you think about what's been happening in this country over a long period of time in our federal union, those very principles that were enunciated and fought for in 1776 have been fading in memory. Many of you here, I know, hold them very dear to your heart, and you work as hard as you can to see them reestablished. We've got a real problem here in America today and in the state of Michigan because too many of our leaders have forgotten about them and are acting contrary to those and contrary to their oaths of office. And that's why it's so good to see so many of you turning out now, because I can see that you take this very seriously, as do we. And so we're very excited over the speakers we have here tonight. We think this is going to be an outstanding format. We have quite a few very accomplished folks here who are looking forward to share their ideas with you. And Chris devised this very good format of 3 minutes apiece, and we have the top-notch timekeeper, so this is going to move right along. So with no further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Chris Cummins. Christopher?
Thank you. This group, Birmingham Bloomfield Republicans, this group has never quite tried something like this before. The reason why it's coming to pass is that I've received, as has Dennis received, requests from a number of campaigns and candidates for a little bit of help, a little bit of exposure. Give them 3 minutes to speak. We are dealing, we're going to go first with some state house candidates. I want to accommodate the county commissioner for this area. We'll then go to the U.S. House candidates, and then we'll close out with the state Senate candidates. I'm pleased to report, I want to thank all the attendees for being here, including, when I say the attendees, I want to thank all the candidates and the campaigns for being here. I put together a list of 15 candidates and campaigns that I invited to partake in this. All said yes. 2 of them had to send surrogates, which we understand. Things are what they are, and we get that not everyone can make every event, and schedules being what they are. But we thank and appreciate everyone that is running for office for being here tonight or for sending someone in their place to speak with us tonight. That's very important to all of us. I want to thank all of you for being here. We need to remember to always thank the township. We are their guests. We're going to do a couple other events. We're going to do one on August the 7th, which will focus similar format with people that are running for the positions that we nominate at the state convention on August the 23rd. And then we're also going to do something here again in September, try to focus on promoting the whole ticket. And when we talk about promoting the whole ticket, what we're really trying to do is get the grassroots activists, that community, in the same room with the candidates, get people talking with each other face to face so you know who each other are. I think it will help us build a much stronger Republican Party. I'm sure someone else is supposed to, but of course. We're being taped tonight. We're being taped by John and Kathy Irvine, who tape a lot of our functions. They donate their time, and I hope that once this is done, it'll end up on their website. I'd like to thank them. There's several things I wanted to talk about before we get moving. First is, as it brought to my attention, that yes, we have primaries, and it's part of the business that everyone has chosen. I'm pretty sure I can state that of the 15 candidates we have running for office, everyone here is a Republican/conservative, no matter what they call themselves. We have one race in Oakland County where we have an incumbent county commissioner who is being challenged in the Republican primary by a gentleman who was a former Democrat county commissioner down in Monroe County and a Democrat township official down in Monroe County. The Republican who's being challenged is Mike Gingell, who's the chairman of the Board of Supervisors. Mike's a Republican. Many of us know him. He is well regarded. His opponent used to be a Democrat. Don't know why his opponent is running as a Republican, other than the fact that the seat is a guaranteed Republican seat. So if you have friends in Orion, I believe Mike's seat also goes down into Auburn Hills, try to put in a good word. You know, he's one of us. His opponent is a member of the opposing tribe, posing as one of us. We don't need that in this party, to be very honest with you. We're going to start with the State House candidates. We've got 4 of them here tonight. Everyone's allotted 3 minutes of time to speak. First person we're going to have speak with us tonight is the incumbent state representative for this community, the Birmingham Bloomfield area. It's the 40th State House District. He represents Birmingham, Bloomfield Hills, Bloomfield Township, and the eastern half of West Bloomfield. He is currently serving in his first term. He's up for re-election for his second term. My understanding is that he has distinguished himself quite well in Lansing.
Tell me when I start. Okay, good. Hi, I'm Mike McCready. I'm a resident of Bloomfield Hills, and I am in my first term in the House. When I was first elected, I was put on the Committee on Committees, which we appoint people to all the different committees. And as a freshman, you have no idea who you're pointing to what committee and what you're voting on. But as you learn to work with people, you find out who's on what committee and how important they are. So when you have someone from your district, whether it's here in the 40th district or another district, you want to know what committee they're on, because that could end up how money flows into your district. Currently, I'm on appropriations, and I chair the Michigan State Police. I sit on Department of Human Services, and as well as the DNR. And next term, I am asking to be APROPS chairman. I want to chair the APROPS. I'm learning how the money plays in Lansing. It took me a little while, but now I can see what goes on and where the money goes to. And I tell you, Oakland County does not get their fair share. And if I can get that seat, I will work hard to make sure that we get our fair share, whether it's for our roads or for our schools. It's really important. Yeah, it's true. They take our money. In this last road budget that was approved, that we distributed $115 million. Oakland County got about $6.3 million. We should get much more than that. Roads is very important. We wrote a road package out of the House of Representatives. I sponsored 2 of the bills, one on registration, one on truck weights, oversized trucks and overweight trucks. We were not competitive with the surrounding states, and we brought those up to where they are with like Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and Pennsylvania. It went to the Senate. The Senate now is debating those issues right now. I know the Senate did not vote on it before we broke from session, but there's a good reason for that. They have to go through these things with a fine-tooth comb, because the bill that we put through had very minimal impact on the taxpayer. It got rid of discounts on registrations that were not fair. It went to the trucking industry to pay overweight and oversized trucking fines and fees, which we need to do to be more competitive. It moved the gas tax from the 19 cents to a 6% wholesale level, and it equalized diesel fuel. Diesel fuel was paying, I think it was 14 or 15 cents. So these are things that you learn how the game is played with our money, and I want to be there to help make sure that we get our fair share. My wife and I have been married for 23 years, Yvonne, and we have 2 children. Our oldest daughter is Madison. Madison just graduated from Marion High School and started the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, and she's there now for the summer semester. And then My other daughter, Louise, just finished 6th grade at the Academy of Sacred Heart in Bloomfield Hills, and she'll start the 7th grade. And we're very proud of our children. They work hard, and they're becoming very good students. I've enjoyed the job. I enjoy representing our district. We have outstanding residents in our district. I can't tell you of all the contacts that we have, either through email or phone calls, telling me if I'm doing a good job or a bad job. And I appreciate everybody's calls and emails. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Real quickly, the next State House district we're going to address is the 35th State House district. This goes through cities of Southfield and Lathrop Village and up into what's called Southfield Township, which we also usually know as Franklin, Beverly Hills, and Bingham Farms. The candidate's Robert Grimm. I want to just tell a real quick story, if possible, if I could. Fred, are you still here? Fred Galash was a longtime Franklin Village Council president. He was going to originally run for this seat. He came to me in the spring and said he thinks he wanted to run once again to sit back on the Franklin Village Council. And we talked, and I said, if you felt that's where you can do the best work for the cause, please do so. It's all about good government with us. Bob was originally going to be running for the county commission seat where he lives. He lives in Lathrop Village. And he agreed to step up to the plate and be the Republican candidate for this State House seat. There's no primary, so Bob's our guy. Of course, which created another issue for us of how to replace Bob on the ticket for the county commission. His wife was very kind and accepting. Regina Brim is with us tonight. She is one of our candidates. She's the candidate for the county commission seat, which is in Lathrop Village, goes through parts of Southfield. And with all that being said, Mr. Robert Brim.
Hello, my name is Robert Brim, and I'm running for State Representative in District 35. And I want to thank the Republican Liberty Caucus for their endorsement and the Birmingham Bloomfield Republicans for letting me speak here tonight. I believe that this election is not about who I am, but it's about who we are as citizens of the state of Michigan. We are living in a time when our liberties are under assault by both our state and federal government. And this opportunity to intervene in government to rid our state of useless regulations. This is a land of opportunity. People used to come to this place and believed that they could start a business. And they would open a small shop and build an apartment on the shop. And if their business did well, they would rent out their apartment and they'd move into a nicer home. But this scenario is no longer available because of regulation. In 2004, the company that I worked for 20 years closed their doors and moved their operation to Tennessee. 250 tax-paying Michigan citizens lost their job because of useless regulations. The company had been in that location for 17 years, and they wanted to expand their business. They needed to add 50,000 square feet to their existing building, but the township would only let them build 25,000 square feet. And the reason for that was some ducks had built a home in the company's holding pond. And so the township wanted the company to actually enlarge the holding pond so that the ducks could have a bigger home. But this left no room for the building expansion. Now the company had already invested the money in the architectural development and they owned the property, but they packed up their stuff and they left. And this was all because of useless regulations. Our state and federal government are creating regulations every day that are against common sense business operations. And I believe that as a state representative, my job will be to go up to Lansing and find these regulations that are impeding our business and get rid of them. If we want to have a strong business opportunity, we need to model ourselves after Singapore and Shanghai, not after France. Thank you.
last State House seat we're going to address is the 29th State House seat. It goes through Pontiac and Auburn Hills, and with redistricting, it picked up part of what used to be the 40th district, that it now also has Orchard Lake, Sylvan Lake, and Keego Harbor. When the Greater West Bloomfield Republicans had a debate a few weeks ago, I encouraged them to invite the 2 Republican candidates we have for the seat to that debate. They weren't able to get to them in time, and then I said I would accommodate them here, and quite frankly, the way some things have worked out, I think we're all aware that it's probably in everyone's best interest that they're with us tonight. Again, we have 2. Normally, we have 2 as a people begging people at the last minute to run for the seat, because Pontiac drives the seat. The current Democrat rep there is Tim Grimel. We're going to do the ladies first in this situation. I should point out that the first candidate is Christina Barr. She is not the only member of the Barr family who is running for public office this year. How many of the rest of the clan are running for office that are with us tonight? Is Katrina still here? Katrina Barr is our Republican candidate for the county commission seat, which is in Pontiac. And we appreciate that you're doing this. It's one less seat we had to go begging candidates for. Trust me, I've gone begging for years at the deadline for candidates. Anyway, again, we have 2 candidates, the other being David Lanier. We'll have Christina go first, and we'll have David come and speak as well. And with all of that being said, please.
I'm Christina Barr. I'm running for State House in the 29th District. My family actually came into Pontiac in 1945 to work. My father, Apostle Keith Barr, he's in the audience right now. He actually gave a dedication to Pontiac High School. He's been a minister in the community far much longer than I've been alive. My aunt, Mary Barr, she was a school teacher. She was on the school board. My aunt, Tuesday Redmond, she worked for the city for over 20 years, retired, and now is currently in the city of Detroit. And I work very closely with my community and with my church doing outreaches. So I believe to take the seat away from Tim Grimel, the Democrats, the biggest opposition is in Pontiac. It's so heavily Democratic, but I believe with all the outreach and the pull that my family does have, we can actually get them to vote on the content of a character rather than just being slaves to the name Democrat. My family, as I said, we work very closely in the community. We do outreaches with life clubs and clean teen organizations to promote healthy, clean life choices as far as not doing drugs and not giving yourself away to loveless flames. I'm also an author, and I've published 5 books. And one of my favorite things to do is go to schools and promote literacy. And I used to go to Webster and Washington. Both schools are closed down now. And when I see young kids, they're so excited when I talk to them about how I came out and what I'm doing, and they have so many dreams, but I know somewhere along the lines they're beaten down by their circumstances, and they really limit themselves on what they can do and how they can progress forward. And there's such a huge difference in an urban area and going out to Holly High is where I graduated. And so I really want to change the culture of my community, and I believe we do that by focusing on strong family values, on keeping government limited, and focusing on small businesses, and spending money within the community. And that's all I have to say.
Our other candidate in this primary is David Lanier, who is very well known to many of us in the conservative movement. David.
Thank you all. When I put together my website, I listed as many issues at that time as I could think of and showed my position either opposed or for those particular issues. I thought I covered all my bases. I found I was wrong. Monday night, Glenn and I went up to Vassar, small town of about 2,000 people. It's a city, actually. And there's a corporation up there called Wolverine Human Services. This is a private corporation, much like our prisons. I've discovered something very chilling, that these people are lobbying in Washington, Washington too, but also in our state, to bring in illegal immigrants from Guatemala and Honduras and various Central American countries. And these young children are coming from cities or places that have high crime rate, They have various problems, so the kids are not going to be actually prepared to become American citizens. At any rate, I think it's a very bad idea, and I want to say when I get to Lansing, I will definitely be opposed to that. Another issue that I'm concerned with, which is rather a little levity here, but Ron Paul, when he was our congressman, and he had a plaque on his desk that said, "Don't steal, the government hates the competition." I thought, when I get to Lansing, what am I going to have on my desk? And mine's a little more serious, but at any rate, it's Article 1, Section 1 of the Michigan State Constitution says, all political power is inherent in the people. That will be my plaque. I think it's very important to put people before special interests, before corporations, before particularly government employees and government agents and government appointed people. They should not be influencing, the bureaucrats should not be influencing our legislators. And we should not ask the judicial branch whether our laws are good or not. We shouldn't be even asking them. We are the lawmakers. We will be the lawmakers. And another thing I will really be doing, putting a lot of effort into, is repealing those laws that violate those rights. I thank you.
I want to switch. This was originally designed, as I said, for the state legislature and U.S. House candidates, but we do have a Republican county commissioner that represents Birmingham, Bloomfield Hills, and an overwhelming majority of Bloomfield Township. She's our former state representative. She is also the chairman, she's the caucus chair for the majority caucus on the Oakland County Commissioners, and one of my favorite fellow Michigan Wolverines, Mrs. Shelley Taub.
I'm Shelley Taub, and I want to welcome you to my township. You are sitting in the township that has a AAA bond rating because of their wonderful budgeting habits. And my friend Corinne is shaking her head, I can see. But you're also sitting in a county in which I have worked very, very, very hard for a number of years, making sure that we have that AAA bond rating, making sure that we do not spend your money the way you don't want it spent. This year, when we pass our budget, it'll be toward the end of September at the county, we will not have a 2-year rolling budget. We won't even have a 3-year rolling budget. We will be balanced through 18, a 4-year rolling balanced budget, okay? That is amazing. We are the only county in the whole United States, probably the only governmental unit to do that. So I'm very proud of that, and I'm proud of the township in which I live as well. Some of the areas I'm concerned with, obviously, are roads, okay? And I have a couple of things going for me right now about roads. One is that I'd like to see if the road commission and the county can get together on some things so we can have more funding for roads. We do something in Oakland County that's unique to the county, and we have a fund that it's called the Tri-Party Fund, and the Tri-Party Fund, a third of it comes from the county, a third from the road commission, and the other third comes from the local community. So we help you with extra money, and I'm hoping that we have some money left in our budget this year. We haven't gone through it, and we haven't had a revenue sharing notice from our state reps, but we're hoping we're going to get our revenue sharing back after a long, long time and have enough money to increase that portion of our funding. Now, something else that I'm proud of in Oakland County is that we had the largest growth in jobs for a county our size in the United States. I think that's pretty good, and that's just the recent statistic that came out. Something that I'm going to be looking into next year, besides all the things that we spoke about that are things that you're used to hearing about, I think we need to take another look at our purchasing policies. I've heard some rumblings, and I read in the newspapers, there's some purchases that people were not happy about in certain areas of Oakland County government. I'm not going to call names, and I'm not going to even tell you what it's about if you don't know what it's about. But I do have concerns that we have some unrestricted funds that none of us take a good look at. And I'm going to tell Chuck Moss is a former county commissioner. He knows what I'm talking about. Chuck, you're here somewhere, I think. And there he is out there. And I'm sure they have the same unrestricted, I know they have the same unrestricted funds where the legislature can't get their hands exactly on that funding and that money. So that is something that I am looking into. Now I want to reiterate what Chris said, if I may. take this time. This is a very crucial issue. We have somebody running against the chairman of my board, who's one of the best leaders I've ever known, okay? And he's running against Michael Gingell, who's, you ever hear of Gingellville? And, I'm sorry, do I have to stop? Oh, I'm sorry.
Take a minute, please.
Take a second. I'll just take a second. And he's running, we like to label people as rhinos. This really is one, folks, okay? This is a real, honest to goodness, card-carrying rhino. I have spoken to people in Monroe, Michigan, several people who served with this person down when he was a Democrat, and they're absolutely overwhelmed that he would ever run as a Republican. I personally think, I guess I'm a conspiratorial type of person, I think something's not right, okay? I think that this is a conspiracy. Somebody got the guy to run. After all, he retired to Lake Orion. I love Lake Orion, but I'm sorry, Jim Marlowe. Who retires to Lake Orion from Monroe? Okay, so that's the story. Thank you very
much. Want to move on to the U.S. House candidates. The first district we're going to address is the 9th Congressional District. This is currently represented by the Democrat known as Sandra Lemon. Normally I don't appreciate booing, but in that case, it is certainly called for. We have only one candidate as a party in this primary, and we've been asking everyone to push like all heck and get behind him and help him be successful. His name is George Brico. He's standing right next to me.
Appreciate everything. I would like to thank you guys for coming out today. A little bit about myself. I'm a small business owner here in good old Michigan. One of my businesses is in the 9th District. I currently own 3 businesses. I'm also a husband and a proud father of 4 beautiful children. I just had my recent child, Memorial Day, the 26th of last month. And the reason I am running is because I am disgusted with the way Washington is. My child was born Memorial Day in debt, $58,000. Washington, D.C. is looking out for big corporate interests rather than the people. My child being born on the 26th, she was in debt, $58,000. Every single person in this room here, if we had to cash out the national debt today, would have to fork out $58 grand. Why do we have this current debt? The reason we have this current debt is because we have politicians in Washington looking out for their cronies that donate the largest to their campaigns. I myself am a struggling business owner, and nobody came to help me when I was down and out financially. In 2009, during the financial collapse, my family was forced out of business, a business that they owned for 30 years. I lost everything. Me, my wife, and 2 children at the time had to move back into my parents' house to regroup. Here I am today standing before you, businessman, who knows how to budget, who knows when to spend and when not to spend. Not like Washington, D.C. Washington spends loosely because they have a blank checkbook. We need accountable representatives in D.C. If we have accountable representatives, we will all live a debt-free, prosperous life. If we are financially free, we will be free as far as the liberty that we carry. If you guys don't mind, I would really need you guys' support. You guys have family and friends in the 9th District, please reach out to them. Let them know that we have a small business owner, all-American kid, who's willing to step up and fight for the people and against crony capitalism. My website address is www.georgebrico.com. I have business cards with me. I'll be more than happy to give you guys my business card. If you guys could donate $1, 1 hour, it would help. Don't think we can't beat Sandra Levin. I'm going to bring up my party, and I don't want to belittle our party, but I have to bring an example of the Eric Cantor situation. He spent $6.5 million on loss to a conservative, a true conservative, with $250,000. So it can be done. Our chances to get rid of Levin is probably the best now than it ever was, because people are awake and people know that Washington is broken. We're tired, we're frustrated, barely making ends meet, barely trying to put our children through college. There's no reason for all that. America is free, America is rich, and America should be prosperous for our children. Thank you very much. God bless
you. The other congressional district that we're going to deal with tonight is a little little touchy for some people, and I'll just clue you into something. We have an incumbent, as some of us are aware, the incumbent is being challenged. It's not the only race we're dealing with tonight with that scenario. And as a party across the state, we have a number of those scenarios. I was first going to have this function on the night of July the 2nd, which was last week. The incumbent congressman for Birmingham and Bloomfield Hills was going to be in attendance. He cannot be in attendance tonight because he is in session in Washington. He's probably not very happy with me still because I switched the date. The reason why I switched the date is I knew that Dennis Marburger and some other people were not going to be able to be here, and if we don't have Dennis and the rest of the crew here, we don't have the event that we have, which quite frankly, I'm looking at a packed house. So it's all about the team, and sometimes these things happen. We have to make a judgment call. First of all, is Shelby Emmett here by chance?
Yes.
Okay. Kerry Bentivoglio is the incumbent congressman for the 11th Congressional District, goes through Birmingham, Bloomfield Hills, and then over through Troy, up through parts of Rochester Hills, and then Auburn Hills, cutting through the land bridge of Lake Angeles, over to Waterford, and then the west part of the county down to Livonia. Kerry cannot be here tonight. Again, he's in session in Washington. He sent Shelby Emmett to speak on his behalf.
Hi. My name is Shelby Emmett. I am legislative counsel for Congressman Bentivoglio. As I said earlier, the congressman is in session today. We are actually voting on things of actual importance and not naming post offices, so yay. Just to go through a couple of what we're working on right now, what's going on the Hill, just so you guys have a good idea. First, I want to give you a quick run through on what we've accomplished. So we're a freshman office, and we have actually had some actual success in Capitol Hill, which is crazy. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to go up there, you're supposed to listen to what the leaders tell you to do, fall in line, not read bills, vote, and then walk away. We have a former teacher as your congressman, and he treats his staff like a classroom a lot of the time. So the first rule in our office is always tell the truth, read everything. And there have been a lot of votes where we have not had time to just read bills. 800-page bills, 900-page bills, so we don't vote for those bills. One of the first bills that we did drop was a very basic bill, Read the Bills Act, because, shocker, people up there don't want to read things. One of the big accomplishments that we had last year, one of the first bills that were able to do, was we got an amendment passed through for the federal education bill. Now, as a conservative office, if we had it up to us, we'd love to completely revamp education policy, starting with the Department of Education. Obviously, we're not a fan of that. As the congressman's a former teacher, he's not a big fan of No Child Left Behind, not because we don't believe in high standards, but because obviously the same testing, my mom's a teacher, all the teachers tell us that does not work. Obviously, we don't believe that the federal government, anyone within the Department of Education, 90% of them have never taught. So we just think, obviously, common sense, parents, global community, people in the 11th district, you all know what's best for your kids, not people at the Department of Ed. But we did get our amendment through. It was bipartisan. What this would allow was for more correlation between parents and the community, and not just have your boards filled with a lot of union teachers and also a lot of professional development organizations that were starting to help develop curriculum. And that was, of course, spilling over to a lot of social issues. And we just said, we believe you guys are more than capable as a community to figure out what your kids need without the people in D.C. telling you that. Real quick, I just want to address something real quick. I know some people have probably heard that the lowest under contempt vote, the congressman did have food poisoning, unfortunately, but I did want to make clear for the record that, number one, we are on the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, which was responsible for the IRS issues and the hearings this entire time. We voted to hold her in contempt at the committee. We were very active every single step of the way, and unfortunately the congressman did get sick. Lastly, I will let you say, wrap it up real quickly. We also have a bill out, Secure Federal Websites Act, #1 freshman congressman, over 120 sponsors. So if you're looking for a guy that actually goes there to get the job done, we've shown it, we've done it. Thank you.
This is a contested primary. Congressman's opponent is with us here tonight. He's a fellow Cranbrook alum. He's an attorney based in Birmingham. Many of us in the party are familiar with what he has done for the party over the years. Mr. David Trott.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for organizing this evening's program. I appreciate the opportunity to be part of it. I want to thank all of you for coming. I also want to thank my wife, Kathy, for being here this evening. I think everyone in the room would agree that over the last 6 years, President Obama has overregulated, overspent, and overtaxed this nation. What we need in Washington is for them to get out of the way and let individuals exercise the freedoms and guarantee and liberties that are guaranteed to us under our Constitution so we can get this country back on track. If I get a chance to serve in Washington, I want to repeal Obamacare. It's an ill-conceived, poorly implemented piece of legislation. As I go around the district and talk to people, they tell me that the regulations are hurting them. Small business owners are bothered by the fact that President Obama has unilaterally extended and modified the Act 38 times, and this uncertainty has hurt job growth, not only in Michigan, but across our country. We also need to cut spending. When President Obama took office, our national debt was $10.9 trillion. As of this morning, it was just under $17.6 trillion. I have no doubt that over the next couple of years, President Obama will accomplish his goal of getting our national debt to $20 trillion. Now, the national debt and the legacy that it creates for our children is an atrocity in itself. But the real problem beyond that is most of the money that Washington spends and most of the tax dollars that we give them really doesn't accomplish much at all. Over the last 10 months, I've gone to many State of the City, State of the Township, State of the County addresses, and I've seen firsthand, and my new mantra is, government works pretty well. It's not perfect, but government works pretty well the closer you stay to your home. Next, we need to create an environment where I'd rather give the money to Mike McCready or Shelley Taub than to Washington. Thank you very much. Next, we need to create an environment where jobs flourish. Over the last 30 years I've spent in business, I've created jobs, I've balanced budgets, I've solved problems, and more importantly, I've kept my promises to my employees and our clients and our customers. I think that those skills can be put to good use in Washington, D.C. The primary is in 27 days. If I have the opportunity to represent you in Washington, I'll make you a few promises here this evening. I will listen to what you want me to work on, the opportunities and the problems that face our district. And I'll go to Washington and I'll work in good faith to solve those problems, and I'll propose common sense solutions that will try and get our country in a better place. Next, I will promise, and this is a simple one, but it's important. I promise if I'm elected, I'll go there and I'll uphold my oath to follow the Constitution. Finally, again, Chris, thank you for organizing this. Over the last 10 months, I've gone to a lot of doors, and I've talked to a lot of people. And it's been energizing. It's a great process. People say politics is a nasty sport, and I've enjoyed it tremendously. I've met a lot of great people. And as I talk to people, it's clear to me that people love our country, and people believe, they have an optimism that together we can solve any problem in this country. I'd be honored to serve, and I appreciate your support and your interest this evening. I hope you have a great evening. Thank you.
I see a lot of people standing in the back. You know, we do have some seats scattered around the front. Please don't feel you have to stand if it makes you uncomfortable, just so you know. Again, redistricting carved the Birmingham Bloomfield area to 2 different state Senate seats. The first of the 2 seats we're going to deal with tonight is the 12th state Senate seat. It goes from Oxford and Orion down through Auburn Hills and Pontiac, cuts in down here into Bloomfield Township, and then goes further south into Franklin, Bingham Farms, Beverly Hills. This is another primary where we have an incumbent, and the incumbent is being contested. We're going to start with the incumbent. The incumbent is Jim Marlowe. Jim was a former state representative before he was a state senator. He was also the treasurer of Orion Township, if I'm correct?
Right, 8 years.
8 years. He's an incumbent, but this is the first time he's ever run in Bloomfield Township. So, Jim, please.
Thank you very much, and I want to take this opportunity and thank the township for letting us have this opportunity here, thanking Chris and all the people that brought this together. And I'd also just like to start with, family. You can't do this without family, so on October 1st, my wife and I will be celebrating 48 years of marriage. We have 2 children, grown children. Our daughter graduated from Oakland University and got her master's from Oakland. And our son is an engineer at Ford Motor Company, graduated from U of M. And we're very proud of our children, and we can't do any of this without family. Something I just want to talk to you about a little bit. As a business owner and a former township treasurer,
I like to measure success as a Republican by the numbers, and I can tell you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, Michigan's economy is coming back. Since 2011, Senate Republicans have led Michigan into a pro-job, pro-small business, and pro-economic growth state. Unemployment is down 1/3. Hundreds of thousands of new jobs have been created. We are the 4th in the nation creating jobs in the high-paying industries. 4 years of a balanced budget on time while reducing the state's unfunded liability by $16 billion. And remember, we started all of this with a $1.8 billion budget deficit left to us by Governor Granholm. Michigan credit rating has been constantly upgraded by Wall Street. They're confident in the state. We have created a work fairness and equity by making Michigan a right-to-work state. This was not an easy task, folks, and I'm proud to tell you that I voted for this, and I support it, and I believe in it. We have cut job tax, killing taxes by $1.7 billion and ended a double taxation to small businesses of 95,000 small businesses that were caught in this quagmire of paying double taxes as a small business person. In the next 4 years, I would like to continue to work tirelessly to right-size government and support the conservative principles I have lived all my life. I am asking for your vote tonight on August 5th, and I would also like to encourage everyone to let's work together to keep Republican control in our state and to send a Republican U.S. Senator to Washington. One other thing I'd like to do a dittos on, what Shelley Taub talked about the Mike Gingell situation as my county commissioner, and I can only tell you that Mike Gingell is a very hard-working individual, and if you're not familiar with what a rhino is, it's a Republican in name only, and that's what we have. Thank you, folks. It's been a pleasure.
As mentioned before, he is in a contested primary. His opponent is with us tonight. He's run for office before. He's well known in conservative circles. Mr. Bob Gray.
How y'all doing tonight? Oh, come on! Yeah! Good night! How are we all doing tonight? Great. That's a little bit better. Listen, I'm Bob Gray, and Mr. Trott, you did leave one thing out about Mr. Obama. One thing he has done, he's underachieved. So, let's give him credit for that. I'm Bob Gray, and I'm running for the state senate for the 12th district. I'm new at this game in the sense that I've never held office. I'm 59 years old. I'm not perfect. I have a lot of faults. But one thing I am definitely sure of, I will never, ever sell out my district. Ever. I will never vote for something called Common Core. I think it's a joke. I'm a former teacher. We'll go back to the classroom eventually. It's a joke, my friends. It's doing more harm than good. And it will continue to do more harm. If you like Common Core, well, watch out. I would never, ever have voted for the Medicaid expansion. Why pile all that garbage up on our children's future? Never would I have gone along with that. I promise if I'm elected, I will go by this. It's called the Constitution. It's there for a reason. Whether it's on the state level, the local level, or the federal level, it's there for a reason. And we have an obligation to get back to it, or we're going to be in big time trouble. Our country's being sold out. every dollar that people can get their hands on. And it's wrong, my friends. It's dead wrong. Again, I'm not perfect. I'm just a sinner saved by grace. But I do know this. I know how to vote. I know what's right and wrong. And I know that if a bill stinks, throw it away. If it's good for our people, vote for it. Some of the bills that are up there, hey, it's just now coming out, folks. 44 cents on a gallon of gas coming. Just taxes. Watch. It's coming. We have no business, as a Republican, we have no business ever voting for a tax hike. Notice I used the word ever, and I do mean it. Listen, I appreciate your time. I appreciate, Chris, you having me come. Again, I could use your help. I could use your vote. But more than that, folks, let's get real Republicans in office.
All right, the other state senate district is the 13th. This is an open seat with redistricting. Technically, you could say it's John Papa George's seat, although it's going into areas he's never has not represented in his current state senate district. The district starts in Rochester and Rochester Hills, goes down through Troy, into Clawson, into Berkeley, Royal Oak, then up into Birmingham and Bloomfield Hills. We have 5 candidates in the GOP primary for this seat. It should be a Republican seat, but it's not guaranteed, so whoever wins this primary, we got to get behind, no matter what. You don't want to lose this to a guy named Fishman. Nothing to talk about there. We have 5 candidates. We're going to go in alphabetical order on this one. The first candidate will be speaking with us tonight is Ethan Baker, and if you've ever met Ethan, he'll tell you he once worked for President and Mrs. Reagan, and I don't know about you, but if it was good enough for Ronald Reagan, it's usually good enough for this crew.
Thank you for having us out here tonight. It is a great group. Our full house is also nice to see. I am Ethan Baker. I'm running for the State Senate District number 13. As Chris explained, I'm here with my wife Bethany tonight. We have 3 young children, a 7-year-old daughter named Arden, a 5-year-old son named Kanan, and a 2-year-old daughter named Avon. They're a lot of fun. In fact, they like to have lemonade stands for my campaign, so if you're out and about in town in Troy this Saturday, they're having a lemonade stand for the campaign. I'll give you the details if you ask me afterwards. I'm an attorney currently now. I have my own practice in Birmingham. I do a lot of business law and some other general civil litigation as well. As Chris said, I did have the honor and absolute privilege of my life to work for President and Mrs. Reagan in their post-presidential office in Los Angeles. I spent every day with the President the last 5 years of his life, and I still remain close to Mrs. Reagan today. And it really changed my life. And I could stand up here and talk for hours about President and Mrs. Reagan. I'm not going to do that tonight because I don't think that's what the purpose is. But I will say that I'm running a positive campaign, just like Ronald Reagan would have wanted everyone to. He strongly believed in the 11th commandment, which was, "Thou shalt not speak ill of any fellow Republican." It doesn't do us all any good. We need to unite and come together. We don't want to fish them, like he said, in the 13th Senate seat as well. But anyway, Michigan's my home. It's your home. We have issues facing us every single day, and there's been a lot of good work done over the past couple of years with the new administration and Republicans in solid control. But there's still things we can do. I'm a citizen politician. I believe we go in there, get some work done, go back to our careers, and make our own money outside of government, the private sector. Our roads need to be dealt with. We talk about it every single day. Every door I knock on, everybody here knows about our roads. We need to fix our roads without raising taxes. We have a tax system with our roads that's out of whack. Not all of our money at the pump goes to the roads. It goes into the general fund. We need to fix that before we even talk about a tax hike, which we shouldn't do. But we're the 6th highest gas tax in the country, and yet we're 50th per capita in spending, and that's not going to happen any longer if I'm a state senator. Education, you've heard some about Common Core tonight. I'm against any policy that's a top-down, one-size-fits-all policy for a local district. We have some of the best districts in the country in the 13th district here, and anything that comes from the federal government telling us what to do and trying to even us all out is going to make us all worse. So we shouldn't do that, but we need to get rid of Common Core and still have high standards to keep us competitive in the country, and we can do that. Common Core is just a blanket thing. We can do our own standards and be a wonderful state for education again. The economy, jobs and business growth, always got to keep Michigan moving forward. We need to make ourselves a magnet to out-of-state businesses to bring their jobs here. There's so much that Michigan can do to change its image throughout the country. I travel outside of this state for work, and I get frowns when I tell people where I'm from, and they say I'm sorry, and they think everything in Michigan is like Detroit. But we know that's not the case. But we need to make sure that Michigan is competitive with the business climate. We need to incentivize all businesses, not just pick winners and losers. And I want to say I'm Ethan Baker. It just takes a lot of courage to run for state senate. I'm qualified. I can do this. Please vote for me on August 5th. Thanks so much.
Our next speaker is Mr. Al G. Al happens to be a professor of mathematics at OCC, if I'm not mistaken. Please.
Hi, my name is Al G, and I'm a Oakland County, Oakland Community College instructor in mathematics. Before teaching at the Oakland Community, I was in Bloomfield Hills. I taught at Sacred Heart from 2003 to 2008. It's an all-girls school. I taught AP Calculus. And I spent more than 15 years in the classroom. My daughter, I'm a family man. My older daughter is 28 years old. My youngest daughter is 21. She just graduated from University of MSU. It was May the 4th. So I was in Lansing to Paris. Now, regarding university and college, I would like to say that we need to be competitive. What we have is our universities are very expensive. Let's compare. In Germany, a student will have a 4-year degree with a debt of $1,000. It's not the same thing in the United States, in Michigan. We cannot even talk about public universities anymore. They're more expensive than some private universities. So when I'm elected, I will propose a bill designed to cut college tuition. It's too high. Second thing, regarding pension, I was surprised this bill passed. How can we tax people with pension after they work all their time, trusting the government, and when they're older, they want to rest, we go there and take their money? That's one reason people don't trust the government anymore. So I will work hard to repeal the pension tax. Number 2. Number 3, the other thing I want to do is new. I would like to find a way to create a state bank in Michigan. Michigan has $62 billion in New York in the bank. Why we cannot have a state bank in Michigan just to protect our pension? So, being said that, when I say that is, when somebody works for a long time, when you're in your house and you pay property tax for over 25 years, I will work to find a way so that you won't have to pay more property taxes. It's not right somebody's 85-year-old and be kicked out of his house because of property taxes. This is not right. I care about education. I created a website. It's ALG Laboratories Mathematics. So I work hard. Actually, I taught in Pontiac, where I was at Pontiac High School. We have 45 kids in the classroom, and we have an elected official coming to this teacher meeting saying that we're going to work so that you can go to college without graduating. This is misleading people. It's not right. You don't tell high school students you can go to college without graduating. That's not right. So I'll be in when I'm elected, I work hard so that things are clear. We don't cheat people. We pass law that makes sense to people. Thank you very much.
Next going on the alphabetical list is Marty Nolenberg. Marty was a former county commissioner and served 6 years in the State House. We all remember his father, Joe Nolenberg, who was a congressman for this area for 16 years. Marty told me he was not going to make it tonight. I said, well, Marty, why don't you send someone? He said, well, who do you think I should send? I said, Marty, why don't you send your mother, Sandy? Thank you for joining us.
So Marty has given me a list of talking points for sure. And Marty is 50 years old, which makes him older than me now. I don't understand how that happened, but that must be the case. He has lived in Oakland County all of his life. He's deaf. Probably a lot of you do know that. And he went to special ed and did very, very well. He's managed to do amazingly well wearing 2 hearing aids. A lot of people that meet him aren't even aware that he is deaf. But he's done it amazingly well and he speaks very well. So we're very proud of how he has handled himself throughout the years. He always went to the public school here. He went to the special ed. He was bused back in the days when busing was a dirty word, but Marty took 3 buses to get to special ed schools. He has owned a home in Oakland County for 25 years. He's run a business for 25 years. He took over my husband's insurance agency some years back, and he's worked in it for 26 years. So he's owned that business for a long, long time. So he is a small businessman. He also owned 2 laundromats at one point in time. He does not own them any longer, but he did. So he was really very much into the small business. He was a county commissioner for 2 years. He was a state representative for 6 years. And he has led by example. He is an upstanding young man. He's honest. He's decent. He's extremely hardworking. You'll never meet anybody who works harder than Marty. He sponsored a legislation to eliminate lifetime health care. Members of the State House serving for a very short period of time have health care for the rest of their life. That's wrong. And he eliminated that, sponsored the bill, and it is now law. He voted to reduce his pay by 10%, and that is now law. He sponsored legislation to prohibit lawmakers from using their campaign funds for criminal defense purposes, and that's now law. This is something that Kwame Kilpatrick did all the time. That is now law. He introduced legislation to dock legislative pay if they don't show up from work. That has not passed so far, but he'll probably introduce that one again. He introduced legislation that would require the state of Michigan to adopt, and Shelley, I'm surprised to hear you say 4 years. Marty says 3 years of a rolling budget, which we don't have in the state now, and I commend Brooks for having the 4-year budget in Oakland County. That is absolutely amazing, and his bond rating is also amazing. If Marty would like to move this fiscal year up from October 1st to July 1st, giving schools and local governments more opportunity to see what their budgets were, to balance them earlier. He sponsored the House version of Right to Work, which we all know is certainly law right now, and a very good law, as a matter of fact. He's got plans to fix our road. He believes in getting the economy moving. He's very much involved in private investment and not government involvement and government intrusion. And I see my time is up, and I'm asking for your vote for Marty Nolenberg.
Is Chuck Moss. Chuck was a former Birmingham City Commissioner and Mayor of the City of Birmingham. He served 6 years on the Oakland County Board of Commissioners, served 6 years in the State House representing this area. He's also been one of the best political advisors I ever had when I lived in Birmingham, keeping me out of a lot of trouble I would normally get myself into. Chuck, please join us.
Thanks, Chris. I try to keep you out of trouble. It doesn't work. I'm glad that I see Sandy Nolenberg. I couldn't have my mother here to do that because my mother is an 85-year-old retired teacher who thinks John Engler was worse than Hitler and hates Republicans. And sometimes, so if my mother were to come here, believe me, she'd have you all voting for the other guys. I'm Chuck Moss. I want to thank you all for coming out. I want to thank you guys for holding it, the Birmingham Bloomfield Republican Club. I helped found that club, so I'm glad to see this full house. And thank you to Bloomfield Township. My background is real simple. I was a county commissioner. Before that, I was a Birmingham City Commissioner. I then became state representative and was honored to be able to represent this district for 3 terms. What do? We have a lot of great candidates. I can say anything about them. What do I have over them? The bottom line is I do budgets. I was the chair of the Finance Committee in Oakland County when we faced the first problems that eventually led to the lost decade in Lansing, but we grappled with them and we dealt with them. I then went up to the state and found the Carnival of Misrule under Jennifer Granholm, sat in minority for two terms, but then we were able, with Rick Snyder and the Republican majority, to get us out of the ditch and back on track. Why me? Frankly, I've got basically 4 issues. Number 1, the budget. It's just like your kitchen table, folks. It's the same thing. It's no different from the government than the business. You can't spend more than you take in. You can't make promises you can't pay. We got us back on the road. Are we done? No, we have more to do. But we are on the right road. We're doing better. If you want jobs in the economy, you got to have a government that stays out of the way and knows that jobs are created by business, not by government. Number 2, we pay down the debt. We faced a $50 billion unfunded liability for the school people alone. And we got to pay that down so we don't end up bankrupt like Detroit or General Motors, or force our retirees into a cruel choice of dimes on the dollar or nothing. And I began paying that one down. And by the way, I appreciate the idea of moving our fiscal year. Currently, I'm the one that got it done, the budget done by June 1st, and now that's become a custom. The budget is done by June 1st. And that was my initiative. We're not supposed to take credit, but I'm going to do that anyway. Roads. We need $2 to $1.5 billion a year for roads to maintain them. We had 10 years of neglect. It's like neglecting your roof. Don't like to raise taxes. We have money that we pay at the pump, but we're going to have to do more than just tinker with it here and there. We're going to have to overhaul because the entire revenue system is obsolete. We got free riders. We got cars that don't use gas but beat up the roads. We got truckers who don't pay that. And it's going to take it, but I can do that. I did those budgets. I can make that happen. And finally, you want to talk about Oakland County? We're a donor county for $1 billion that we sent. So does that mean I have 5 minutes or 7 minutes? What does that mean? I'm done. All right? We're going to bring back our money because if you talk about bringing back the bacon, we're the hog farm here. I'm Chuck Moss, and I'm going to ask for your support. Thank you very much.
Long time. When I used to live in Farmington Hills, he was my state representative back then. At the time, he was also the majority floor leader. I believe you were the youngest majority floor leader in the country at the time, were you not? Yes? Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Rocky Rushkowski.
Folks, real quick question. How many of you are as frustrated with the Republicans in office as you are with the Democrats? Raise your hand. Look around. Almost every single hand. That's why I'm in this race. There's a lot of good candidates, as Chuck mentioned. There's good candidates. But you know what? Right in this hand, I hold a folder. I just got done walking door to door in Birmingham. Great response. But so did these candidates. These candidates had great responses from the Democrat and Republican Party. You know what these are? This is the graveyard of political promises from political candidates that have promised you a bill of goods that have always, by the way, they're falling apart too, that say that they will solve this problem and that problem, that they've done this and done that. Folks, we have term limits in the state of Michigan for a reason, because people have been frustrated with politicians. I was proud to be one of the co-chairs of term limits with a guy named Patrick Anderson. Dick Headley was the chairman. Many of you may remember him. And I served in the military for 26 years. But from now on, I'm not going to say I anymore, because we as a state have tremendous problems. We still have an economy that needs help. We have infrastructure problems and education issues. Here are some serious proposals that we can actually get through with people that can articulate and properly propose these proposals with other legislators, Democrats and Republicans, to make sure that we can get them through the legislature and to the governor's desk, i.e. education. Let's get rid of the ISDs. Do you know what an ISD is? Intermediate School District. We have 83 of them in the state of Michigan, and they're fraught with administration and wasteful spending. That money needs to go to the classroom, to lower classroom sizes. Because if you live in some of the cities in the district, the 13th district that I'm running in, happens to be Berkeley, Birmingham, Bloomfield Hills, the city of Bloomfield Hills, Clawson, Troy, Rochester, Rochester Hills, and Royal Oak, guess what? Average class size is about 28. We also need to look at the administration. Spending money on administration is wrong. MEP test. I know we've all talked about Common Core. Many of us are against Common Core. But let's talk about something else that we should be against. We should be against the MEP test and focus on single individual assessment and help the child prosper, because that's what it's all about. Now let's talk quickly about education, the economy, because everybody talks about creating jobs. I have a small logistics business where we provide brokerage, transportation, and warehouse management for automotive tier 1s and some defense clients. One of them happens to be, and I'll open it up, is Bentler. We do a lot for Bentler. And Bentler does a lot in Auburn Hills and Rochester Hills. Well, let me tell you something very interesting that I've learned from them and from other tier 1s. During the bad days, they talk about diversification, 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 but nobody diversifies. I'd like to bring more health care and financial sectors to the state of Michigan. That's why I'm running for office. Rocky Rutschkowski, RockyWorksForUs.com, and I hope to earn your support. Thank you.
Thank you. excellent time tonight. I suppose I should first and foremost thank all the candidates for staying within our time limits and helping us stay on point. Again, the objective by November is beat the Democrats. We have primaries, it's the nature of the business. When the primaries are over and done, we must get behind our Republican candidates. Sometimes it's not always enjoyable. If you got a guy in the ballot you don't care for, please keep it to yourself. I don't want to read everyone's emails about why someone's not a real Republican or not of this or not of that. I've been reading them for the past 2 years. I've had enough. I assure you. More to the point, we got some time. We're probably going to exit here around 9 o'clock. Before we close out and say goodbye with the formalities of this program, take some time to get to know each other. It's important for the people that are the candidates to get to know the activists and vice versa. That's how we build a stronger internal party. We'll be back here again on August the 7th doing a similar program dealing with the Education Board candidates, Lieutenant Governor candidates, rolled by the Attorney General, by the Secretary of State, the usual stuff. Yes, back to Dennis.
Well, this has been truly a great meeting that we've had here so far, and I want to commend Chris on coming up with this great idea that we have all these people come in and speak and share with us their thoughts. As we said, as this meeting began, there were a lot of very critical issues that are coming up, and you know, Rocky just asked how many of you are frustrated with Republicans as with Democrats, and we know that throughout the entire country, this is a problem. There's a lot of dissatisfaction. People are very concerned with things, long-running trends. But the good news is we have many people who are engaged, both as candidates and at the grassroots. And we're seeing a lot of people involved in issues. Sometimes it's on a nonpartisan basis. And what we're seeing is whether people call themselves Republicans or they call themselves Democrats or they say they have no party at all. They want to see the situation improve. As we've heard a couple of the candidates mention, and I think this is critically important, they do take an oath of office. We have the right to expect that the people who take that oath will live up to it. And we see all too frequently in Lansing and in Washington and all over this federal union elected people who do not do that. And so it's encouraging to hear the people here talk about that, and it's also very encouraging to know that you out here in the audience will demand that as is your right and is your duty. And I say thank you for that, and back to you, Chris.
We're done. Thank you.